Combat, it's not a part of every single video game, but it's a part of video games as a whole. So it's very important to make this part of your game feel very good and rewarding. There are many types of combat, from Mario stomping Goombas to Doom Guy blasting enemies to pieces. Today we're gonna focus on how you can make your melee combat feel good and rewarding for your players. Of course you can apply these techniques to other forms of combat as well. So here we have a super simple demo scene with a player and the enemy. The player can walk around with some simple controls, so the first thing we need is an attack animation. So an animation can be split up into 3 parts. First we have the anticipation, the wind up of the attack. Secondly, the impact, when the attack is supposed to connect with the target and deal damage. Then we have the recovery, that's when the character returns to its natural position, aka the idle animation. When you make a swing attack, especially for a 3D game, make sure you have a smooth curve of the swing. So we are back in the demo scene. Now we can attack the enemy, but there is 0 feedback, which makes the game feel very boring and unresponsive. So let's add some feedback. There are 3 types of feedback: visual feedback, sound, and haptic feedback. First up, visual feedback. Color. Color is a key aspect when it comes to visual feedback. A change in color tells the player that what they did in the game had an impact. So, whenever your attack connects with the enemy, they flash white. This tells the player that their attack actually did something to the enemy. And just this little change makes a huge difference how it feels to attack the enemy. Another way to give the player more feedback and make the combat feel much better is an hit animation. When you make a hit animation, you should use a technique called squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is the squashing and stretching of an animated character or object, exaggerating its motion or to show impact. I made a super simple animation for the enemy, and this just makes it feel so much juicier. Now let's add some knockback on top of this animation, and now the combat is starting to feel really good. Next up, particles. Particles can also give an emphasis on the impact of the attack, to make it feel more impactful. I think Zelda Breath of the Wild has very nice hit particles, so I made these 3 particle effects. This is just a burst of particles in the direction of the hit. Then we have the main hit effect, as well as a death effect, which is just a bigger version of the hit effect with some extra added things like a big circle and such. And that's it for the visual feedback. Of course you could also add some screen shake for some extra oomph, but I'm not gonna do that. Now, sound. Sound is another key aspect of player feedback. From the sound your weapon makes when you swing it, to the hit sound itself. Sound can tell the player a lot about what is going on. So I made this sword combo sound. The last sound in the sword combo, which is the sword thrust, has a bit brighter and louder sound. This is because I want to tell the player that this was the finisher of the combo. Then we have an enemy hit sound and a death sound as well. Let's see the difference these sounds have made to the feel of the combat. First, without any sound. Then with sound. The combat now feels much more impactful and engaging. I have used all these techniques we have talked about in my own game I'm working on. It's a tower defense survival game, and if that sounds interesting you should check that out after this video. So that was pretty much it. We added visual feedback in the forms of color, animation, knockback, and visual effects. And then we added some audio feedback such as swing sound, hit sound, and a death sound. I hope you learned something from this video, and make sure you comment what you learned as well as liking and subscribing. And with that, have a great day.